Clutching his rifle in his hand, veteran British big game hunter Owain Lewis made his way through the dense brush of Zimbabwe, carefully tracking an injured Cape buffalo that had been shot 3 days earlier by an American visiting hunter who had failed to finish it off. With the task now falling to him and his hunting apprentice, it all comes down to a game of cat and mouse. But who's the cat and who's the mouse? We'll find out here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
And today we're talking about the beefiest boys in the bovine brotherhood. But more on that later.
Boar.
It's not a board, though. That'd been funny if it was a boar.
And also, this episode's not going to be a bore.
I sure hope not.
It's interesting animal info, not boring animal info.
Yeah, unless we're talking about an animal that likes drilling.
That's true. Then there's going to be a lot of boring animal info. I'm sure. Actually, the mole. That was some boring info. But we're not talking about the mole. We're talking about the Cape buffalo.
That's right. You know, I thought that Cape buffaloes and water buffaloes were the same. But they are not. There's a different buffalo for that.
You got a problem? There's a buffalo for that.
Need to go in the water? Buffaloes.
Need a Superman cape? Buffalo.
But yeah, we're talking about the Cape buffalo, which is
also called, according to certain science people, the African buffalo. Which I think is unfair, because there's more than one buffalo in Africa, but whatever. Also, I saw it called the Black Death. But hunters call it that, and we'll talk more about that later. And when it came to our own nicknames, I went for quantity over quality, so here we go.
Okay.
The Count of Monte Buffalo.
Why that one? Oh, okay. We'll find out later.
Because it's a revenge story.
Okay.
The binomial nomenclatures we'll talk about later is Sincerus Caffer, so it's sincere caffeine.
Okay.
It's also the Mean Lean Beef Murder Machine.
Okay, that one's a kind of a classic vibe.
Yeah, and it's also the Most Dangerous Game.
Hey, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, throwback to an old short story.
Uh-huh.
But let's talk about how this taxonomizes.
Okay.
Taxonomize me, Captain. Sure, the first part is the kingdom.
Yeah.
As we all know, love, and are in.
Yeah, that's
that
the
right?
Animalia.
That's right, it's Animalia. Oh, you beat me to it.
I'm doing this. I'm supposed to do this.
No, I'm supposed to do this. Oh, you're supposed to do this.
Did you practice these?
Nope.
Okay, then I'll just do it. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Mammalia. The order, we've been here before, they're Artiodactyla.
We've been here so many times.
Yes.
And we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that humpback whales are in the same order.
And I hate it. I hate that's the case. The family is Bovidae. The subfamily, if you're into that, is Bovinae. And then the genus is Sincerus. And like you mentioned, the species is Caffer. There are a number of subspecies, but we're going to be talking about Sincerus, Caffer, mostly.
It's kind of like sincere heifer. Maybe I should have gone with that. Because it's a cow.
Well, they also make calves. So
that's true.
They're Caffers.
It is a Caffer. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for what will just dominate the competition in a landslide in terms of the listener's favorite part of the show, the best segment, Critter Groups, Critter Groups, which is where I, Carlos, ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of these animals, or what is the collective noun for these animals? And since we're talking about buffalo, not bison, we made that distinction back in our American bison episode. They are not interchangeable. Bison live, they're the big brown furry boys in the middle of the country, this country, U.S., and buffalo are in Africa, also in India and China, I think.
You can remember that because of bicentennial.
Yep, and there's
the one where the country is
that
200
only
years
exists
old.
in the United States.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not going to remember it that way.
Well, that's your loss.
No, I'll still remember it, just not that way. All right, so, Joe, what is the name of a group of buffalo? Is it A, a rumble of buffalo? Is it B, a mash of buffalo? Is it C, a parlance of buffalo? Or is it D, an obstinacy of buffalo?
Parlance is just a classic group animal name. It's just great. But
so classic.
rumble is perfect for these guys. We all know it's a herd of buffalo. That's what anyone with any self-respect would say. But if we're going to be weird about it, I'm going to go with the rumble. A rumble in the jungle.
Let's get ready to rumble. If it's not in the jungle, it would be the savannah, but you're also wrong.
Unless
the answer
you're talking about the other subspecies which lives in the forest.
Yeah, it's still not the jungle. It's a forest. The answer is D, obstinacy, which is the weirdest thing ever.
I guess it makes sense with their personality traits.
Yeah, they're obstinate. They're stubborn. They're hard-headed, for sure.
Yeah, speaking of hard-headed, are you ready to hear what this is, what it looks like, and how one would describe it?
Go ahead. Describe it to me.
Okay.
Paint a picture.
The Cape buffalo is a large, thick-bodied bovine with black, curved horns. It looks like a typical brown cow, but it has shorter hair, except for the subspecies that live in the forest, which have longer hair. The top of their skulls is a thick keratin that curves downward and then back up into horns like a composite bow. That's the shape of their horns, if you can imagine that, like a curved.
I sure can.
Curved bow. Their heads hang lower than their backs, unlike deer and horses, which carry their heads high.
Good for them.
Yeah. Males have brown to black coats, where females have more red in their coats. Cape buffaloes are native to African forests and plains. The Kaffir subspecies is the most familiar. If you're picturing this, you're probably picturing this subspecies, and they live in the savanna. But there's several other subspecies, including one that lives in forests. It's called the Nanis subspecies, which is smaller, which is pretty typical of things that live in like thicker wooded areas. They're smaller than their plains kin, but they have reddish fur, and they have like hair, like white strands of hair, like highlights that come off of their ears. They're very interesting to look at.
They're like they got frosted tips.
Yeah, they're like little Timberlakes.
I remember little Timberlakes. I
They're
remember
bigger
the
than
bison
Justin Timberlake.
that has a smaller forest dwelling subspecies, so it's a very similar situation.
Mm-hmm. There's something else we need to know.
What, are we on to the major fact now?
No,
all right.
No, not yet. Actually, we need to know how big it is. Because we're talking about size, we might as well talk about how big the Cape buffalo is. That brings us to the listeners, the leading candidate for the best part of the show, titled to be officially determined by you on
Leading
December.
candidate?
Yeah.
What?
I've been saying that for like 3 weeks.
Have you taken a popular vote?
It's going to be determined by the listener on December 3rd on Twitter and Facebook. We're going to do some polls, and you can vote in them, and we'll combine them to find out the true listener's favorite part of the show. But this is also the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We have no new intros this week, and I blame all of you.
Me too.
But we still get to do something fun, because whenever we don't have a new intro, we get to play a weird animal sound, and Carlos guesses what it is.
It's just making more work for me. Can someone please send in a measure up?
Here we go. Is that enough for you to go on?
Sure, yeah. It sounds like a 50-foot tree monster.
I will tell you. I'll give you a hint. It is nothing like it sounds.
So, what? It could be a mouse?
It's closer to a mouse than a 50-foot tree monster.
Okay. That's good to know. I don't know. I'm thinking of some kind of bird.
That's a good guess. We've heard birds like what's the cassowary sort of sound has a low grumble sound like that.
Low throaty growl like it's a dinosaur.
Uh-huh.
But you offered that suggestion, so it's probably not the answer.
Or it's double reversal.
That would be rude. I don't remember. I don't think the cassowary sounded like that though.
Not quite.
Stop saying things. I don't know. Let's go ostrich.
That's a fair guess. Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
Incorrect. It's closer to the cassowary in proximity because it is a koala.
That's a koala?
Yep, that's a koala. They have like a large vocal range because I saw another video where one koala was making that sound and another one was crying with this high-pitched whine.
Wow. I couldn't have in a million years told you what a koala sounds like.
There will be a link to the video on ldtaxonomy.com for this episode.
Was it upset? Was it
I
like
don't
growling?
know if it was upset. It was like sitting otherwise quietly and then just raising its head to the heavens and bellowing.
They sleep like 23 and a half hours a day, so it's probably pretty rare to hear it say anything.
Maybe that's what a eucalyptus belch sounds like.
It was just nonstop burping. I can't stop burping.
All right, let's get into the dimensions of the Cape Buffalo. At the they can be up to 7 feet long, but at the shoulder height, they can be 1.0 to 1.7 meters or 3.3 to 5.6 feet. We can go by the upper end and say 5.6 or 5.5. How many buffaloes go into the height of the tallest building in Africa, which is the Leonardo, which is in Stanton, South Africa? Here's a hint. The building was started in November of 2015 and officially became the tallest building in April of this year. It's still not fully complete, but it has reached its record-breaking height.
Well, about two of these guys go into one story of a building. So I'm going to say it's 60 stories. Because that's really high, but it's not, doesn't really touch the taller buildings in the US, Japan, and Dubai, and China. So
that would put it at 600 feet?
Put it at 600 feet. And so I would say that about, I'm going to say 58 Cape Buffalo heights go into the tallness of this building. The height, tallness, same thing.
Gotcha. So you think that so I'm talking width, the shoulder height, which is 5.6.
Yeah.
You said that they're close.
Oh, sorry. No, it's not. Sorry. I meant to double that and say 114.
Okay. The correct answer is 137.
Ooh, that's not
the
off.
building is 770 feet, or
Ooh.
300 or 234 meters. You were about to lose on a technicality, and I was because you had all you showed your work, and your work was correct. So
I was telling you how many stories based on the
Well,
fact
you
that
had-
it's
you had
5.6,
said-
not 5.5.
Yeah. And I was like, your number is so low. I know this is going to be a weird moment when I say the answer, where we have to figure out what went wrong.
Thanks for not making it weird.
All right, let's go into weight. They're about 500 to 1,000 kilograms, or 1,100 to 2,200 pounds. The forest variety can be
boys.
only about 1,000 pounds, so they're significantly smaller. Let's call it 2,200 pounds. How many of the world's largest buffalo wing in Madeira Beach, Florida, go into a Cape buffalo? Before you start thinking...
I got vacation plans now.
Before you start thinking in wing terms, it's not a real chicken wing. Here's your hint. It's a drumstick replica that hangs from a photo op sign at a dockside Hooters. A sign near it warns patrons not to climb on the wing in 9 different languages. So they've had people come out from all over to climb on this thing, and they don't want it.
It's what? It's a drumstick?
It's a replica.
Oh. That's the world's largest chicken wing for real?
Not really. It's just like world's largest pencil, and it's like this 20-foot like ceramic, or this 20-foot like plastic.
Yeah, that doesn't count at all. If it doesn't, if
well,
it's
like
not
all
made
these
of the
like
same
roadside things that are like, that's not actually that thing, but fine.
Yeah, if it's not made of the same materials as the original thing, then it's not the world's largest that thing. Anyway, I imagine kids probably play on it a lot.
It's just like a photo op thing. Madeira Beach is Tampa area, I think.
I'm gonna say it's 15 feet. Wait, so we're talking about weight, right?
Yes.
Okay, how heavy this thing is. No, that's probably pretty heavy. I'm gonna say 1. I'm gonna say it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Those are my ACT scores coming in handy.
Final answer?
Yes.
Close. The correct answer was 2.1.
Not close at all. It was half.
But you're only 1 away. So
that is the frustrating paradox of 1 and 2. You're so close, but so far.
The buffalo wing is 1,037 pounds.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought it was the other way around. I thought how many buffalo go into this thing.
Oh, no.
Got it.
Okey
Are we done
doke.
with math?
We are done with math and learning, except for about the fast facts, if you're ready for them.
And the major fact. There's lots of learning to go.
It's more pointed learning. This learning is an X-Acto knife when
It's
it
more
comes
better
to
learning.
topic. We'll find out. Fast facts. Let's do it. They have fairly typical herd hierarchies, with dominant males controlling highborn females and their offspring. The core herd is surrounded by subherds, which are composed of high-ranking males and females, subordinate males.
They're sub-obstinacies.
Right, sure. and older
Use the
or
right
injured
terminology.
adults. So if you're just totally tickled and jazzed by bovine hierarchies, go and listen to the bison episode, the American bison episode, because that's the major fact of that episode. Spoiler alert. So young males stay away from the dominant male, but males will spar in friendly competitions where they might rub nosies together and practice fight. Real fights, however, are rare and violent. They can be violent, bloody, sometimes fatal, but they're not very common. They are grazers and eat mostly grass in swamplands and floodplains because they like those kinds of damp areas because they drink water every day, unlike certain African savanna animals that can go a little bit longer without water, they are in constant need. But unfortunately, that puts them in danger of crocodile predation. Other than crocodiles, they are sometimes hunted by lions, but they can defend themselves against lions, and they aren't easy prey.
I'm surprised these guys aren't the water buffaloes.
I'm sure they have very similar affinities for water, because I think water buffaloes like swim around and stuff. But these guys do swim around, so. I wouldn't. Yeah, for real. They may defend themselves and one another and prevent a united front against predators like lions. However, lions can pick off injured, old, and sick animals at the edges of herds. But did you know that Cape buffalo are also capable of engaging in the democratic process? That's right.
Just like you can.
Yeah.
When you vote for Critter Groups as your favorite segment.
Or if you want to learn more and not like listen to a totally random segment, then vote for Measure Up. So female buffaloes can move together. This helps them avoid being picked off by predators, and it helps them keep calves safe. But how do they decide where to go? So they will spend an hour shuffling around, laying down, and then standing back up again. The direction they face when they're lying down is their vote as the direction to go. Once they decide, they set out. And early polls show that forest buffalo are pointing at Critter Groups, where plains buffaloes are snatward at Measure Up.
Well, how so these buffalo they understand numbers? They can count and see majority?
I don't know if they can count, but they might be able to see majority.
That's crazy.
Like they probably don't know it's like 10-2, but they know that a lot of us are facing this way. Let's go this way. It takes them an hour to do this, so
which is a lot faster than most bureaucratic processes.
Fair point. But yeah, they're little Democrats, except for the fact that they're ruled by a dominant male.
They're not Democrats.
Well, they're Democratic.
Yeah, there you go.
Democrat doesn't just mean left-leaning American politician.
It does in the parlance. Bringing parlance back. We're going to say that more often.
Okie doke. I'm ready for some major facts.
We exchange the fast for the major. So I bet you guys are wondering what happened to Owain Lewis, that big game hunter I mentioned in the intro. Well, here's the end of that story. He was killed by a buffalo. You don't really think of buffaloes being dangerous. I mean, they're big horned animals, but they're cows. Like who's afraid of a cow? Well, it turns out that Cape buffalo are one of the big five, which in Africa are the five most dangerous animals to hunt on foot. And the big five are... can you guess what the big five are, Joe?
I'm going to go hippopotamus.
Nope.
Not?
No.
Okay. Elephant.
Yep.
Lions.
Yep.
Leopard.
Yep.
Is it more bovines?
It's a big animal.
A giraffe? Oh,
no,
rhino.
Yep. Okay. Elephants, rhinos, lions, leopards, and Cape buffalo are the five most dangerous animals to hunt on foot. And in fact, South African currency on the paper bills, they have pictures of these animals. It's a big thing, these big five. It's also a big tourist attraction. But there's sufficient evidence to say that Cape buffalo might be the most dangerous of these five. There are a lot of large herbivores in Africa, like hippo, wildebeest, and eland, but what makes Cape buffalo so dangerous is that these mud boys take some revenge. And they serve it cold.
They serve it what?
They serve it cold.
Oh.
That's how it's best. Because they're so big and muscular, one shot from even the high caliber gun is not likely to take down one of these buffalo soldiers, regardless of the placement. You might get lucky, but almost all big game hunters say you're going to have to chase it after you hit it because you're probably not going to kill it. So like most animals that are wounded during hunting, they run away. So the Cape buffalo runs away, and you're like, okay, now the hunt is on, the chase is on. Or so it wants you to think. Instead, it will remember the direction where it heard the shot and seemingly run off in a random direction. But what it's actually doing is circling back around on its own trail to get that sweet, sweet revenge. It'll make its way behind the hunter and will actually wait behind a bush or a rock or an anthill or a termite mound or something and use camouflage as best as it can until the hunter is within range. It'll stand perfectly still until a hunter is within a few yards of it, and then it'll charge at 35 miles an hour. And so with an impenetrable shield of horns on its head and a 2,000-pound animal ambushing you at 35 miles an hour from some nearby bush is about all it takes to kill a human. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Owain Lewis. He wasn't even the guy to injure the buffalo. He was just tracking it down to finish it off because to end its suffering because some, novice American hunter wasn't able to do it. The Cape buffalo charged out of some bushes very close to the pair because there's Owain Lewis and his hunting apprentice, and managed to toss Mr. Lewis up in the air, and his neck was broken before the apprentice was able to bring the Cape buffalo down. So yeah, it's a sad story, but it's a cautionary tale to big game hunters, and that's don't mess with these guys. There's a gripping story called "No One Survives a Cape Buffalo Attack," where some high schoolers managed to get the attention of a Cape buffalo, and one of them barely escaped with his life, but he didn't escape with his pants. So at the end of the story, it's revised to "No one survives a Cape buffalo attack with his pants."
Okay.
And it's pretty crazy. I suggest people look it up because it's pretty gripping. And he gets the buffalo charges. He tries to dive to the side, but it catches him in the crotch of his pants. So the horn goes through his pants, but doesn't go through anything else. Just 2 inches away. Whew. And then almost tramples him to death, but he manages to escape his pants.
Escape his pants.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad it worked out for him, except for it's too bad about his pants.
Yeah, they ripped off, so he keeps what survived as a reminder that no one survives a Cape buffalo attack with his pants. Locals will say that the Cape buffalo is responsible for the most human deaths of any animal in Africa, even though I think we're pretty sure that it's the hippo. But it is almost certainly the animal responsible for the most hunter casualties.
Interesting. There's also just a lot more Cape buffalo than there are, like, elephants. And rhinos, especially.
Yeah.
So it might be more dangerous just because you're more likely to encounter one.
Well, I think it's more of there's got to be some numbers out there, some encounter versus casualty ratio, because otherwise it's skewed.
Yeah.
Because then it's not the most dangerous; it's just the most frequently encountered. I mean, I think cows are the animals responsible for the most deaths in America.
Yeah, that's mostly because of their size and proximity with humans.
Yeah, we just interact as humans. We interact with cows all the time, which is so like even though wolves might be more dangerous, on their own, they just don't encounter humans as much.
Right.
But that's all I got. I mean, it's just crazy to think that this overgrown cow in Africa is the most dangerous animal when you think of all of the dangerous animals that live there.
I'll believe it.
Don't go
Little
for it.
Vindictive bovines.
Yeah, and the fact that it'll, instead of being like, I need to get away from danger, it's more like, I'm going to kill the danger.
That might have something to do with their like response to predation normally, which is to turn its horns at it.
Offense is the best defense.
Right.
It's I think these buffalo are fans of Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's a perfect Art of War move too.
To double back.
To feign weakness and then to strike when the enemy is unaware.
Very true.
So that's all I got for the Cape Buffalo. You got anything else?
I do not.
So for you out there in Podcastia, watch your back, let your aim be true, and ba ram you like the Cape Buffalo in Life, Death, and Taxonomy. Hey everyone, Carlos here. We need Measure Up intros. It really makes our day to see that we've received a new Measure Up from a fan of the show. Plus, you get to hear yourself on the airwaves, so to speak. So just say, sing, whisper, scream, or chitter the words Measure Up into your phone's recording app and email that bad boy to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. Also, like the Cape Buffalo, don't forget to vote. But you can vote for your favorite podcast segment on December 3rd. We'll finally know whether the amazing and fun critter groups or the tedious Measure Up is more beloved. You can vote on Facebook and or Twitter December 3rd. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Tedious Measure Up is more beloved.
Deleting that.